Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's episode of the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival at Home. I'm Randall Miller, Director of Dance Programming and Special Projects for the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust and co-director of the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival. On behalf of Pittsburgh Cultural Trust and the Humanities Center of Carnegie Mellon, welcome to Week 2. So, please check out our festival landing page at www.trustarts.org/humanities for all related activities, including the video of this talk, which will be available following the broadcast for you to rewatch and to share with your friends. I'd like to invite my co-director, David Shumway, from the Humanities Center at Carnegie Mellon, to say a few words. Are you there, David?
I'm here, Randall. Humanities Center at Carnegie Mellon is pleased to have co-sponsored the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival since 2015 and to have brought smart talk about stuff that matters to Pittsburgh. We're equally pleased to be able to continue to bring this to you at home, these conversations to you at home this month, every Friday. I want to particularly mention next week's event, which is a conversation with Jonathan Moreno, author of Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven, but Nobody Wants to Die, and co-host of the podcast Making the Call. Jonathan will be talking about medical ethics and issues very much related to the pandemic. So I hope you can join us for that. Back to you, Randall.
Thanks, David. I'd now like to introduce Dan Fitzpatrick from our presenting sponsor, Citizens Bank. Are you there, Dan?
Hello, I'm Dan Fitzpatrick, President of Citizens Bank for the Mid-Atlantic region. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival at Home. All of us as citizens are committed to the success of our customers, communities, and local economies, and we're proud to support the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival at Home because it provides meaningful dialogue and connection on our deep cultural richness and diversity right when we need it most. It's often said that challenging times bring out the best in people, and we hope that these interviews with artists, academics, and intellectual innovators working to make Pittsburgh a better place will lead you to think, question, reflect, and aspire to not only understand what's happening in the world around us, but to take meaningful action to help bring about change. So thank you again to the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust for hosting the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival at Home. We're grateful for your leadership in galvanizing us to talk about these critically important issues and look forward to joining the discussion. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan. And thanks to Citizens Bank for their support. Financial support is a critical piece of our ability to produce programs like the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival at Home. If any of our viewers wish to make a financial contribution to support this work, please visit www.trustarts.org/supporthumanities, which you can see below here. Please be aware that our speakers will answer a few questions at the end of the conversation. Please post your questions in the comments on either Facebook or YouTube. We will select a few for that portion of the conversation. If you're out there now, please drop a comment to let us know that you're there. I can't see how many people are watching this, but I can see the comments. It is now my pleasure to invite you to join in a conversation with Staycee Pearl. This is a dual pleasure for me as co-director of the Pittsburgh Humanities Festival, as well as the director of the Pittsburgh Dance Council. I've known Staycee for a little over a decade now, and she has continued to grow in her position as one of the leading figures of Pittsburgh's dance community, including very notable commission by Pittsburgh Ballet Theater for their 50th anniversary last year, and which I hope she'll talk about, and recently being awarded the National Dance Project production grant. I'm greatly looking forward to hearing about her perspective on the dance world from her position as an artist and creator. She will be interviewed by Tierney Adia, who is a special contributing columnist to the Pittsburgh City paper on social, cultural, political, style, and design. Tierney, I'm sorry I butchered your last name,
No,
but
you're good.
I'm going to kick it over to you, and I'll be back in 15 minutes or so to let you know.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you, Randall.
Thank you so much. Stacey.
Hi, Tierney.
Hi, so good to see you. Virtual hug.
I know. Good to see you. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you too. Well, I have 100 questions, but I only have time for maybe 2 or 3. So the first question I have for you is, when did you become aware of dance? And when did you become aware of the idea of dancer as a career or a profession that you can do?
So I first became aware of dance as like a career, or not, it wasn't even, I was very young. I was probably about 16, 17, so maybe not as young as some. And I had done some gymnastics as a little guy. And I had some friends who were doing dance in different studios. And I didn't know, like, to me, it was the floor exercises from gymnastics. And then I realized, okay, well, I'm putting this thing that I'm doing in my living room to, the music that my parents have. And I thought I was like creating this whole other thing. Like, dance was like boogieing down in a party. But what I was doing was something, I don't know, I thought it was just like never been done before. And finally I saw, probably Alvin Ailey was one of the first companies that I saw. And I realized that's what I'm doing. That's it.
Yes.
And from then it was just what I had to do. It was like I couldn't get away from it. It was just, I felt like it was me. It wasn't just that, oh, this is this thing that I'm doing that, other people do. It was just like, this is who I am. And I always felt like I was a little behind the 8 ball. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't I start this earlier? Or why didn't I discover this when I was 7, not 16, 17? So, yeah.
And do you have a particular like magic moment on stage, or do you have a particular memory or idea or thought that when you think about dance, you think about yourself on stage, you think about yourself on the dancer, that's the thing that you remember, that moment, or you remember that step, or you remember that feeling or emotion of being on stage and performing? Is there one particular image or feeling in your body that's a reoccurring sense of joy or love for the dance?
There is definitely, and it's really hard to put into words. It's it really is just like this natural space to be in. And if I think of a specific instance, I remember as a young, like when I first got started, I ran over to the Ailey School as soon as I finished high school. And I had the opportunity to work with the special dance group that was like not the company and not the second company, but it was like it was like for us really younger and getting started people. And there was a solo that Calvin Retardier choreographed on another dancer that was still around and mentoring some of us. And I just took it upon myself to learn it. And I remember feeling really nervous the first time I did it. And they were also proud of it when they saw it in rehearsal. And then when I finally got on stage, and I was nervous about forgetting a part or doing something wrong. And that was like the moment in the middle of that piece, which was about 6 minutes long, that I realized it's up to me what I do. You know what I mean? Like those people out there won't know if I mess up, if I forget the step or the look or whatever. It gave me such a sense of control and power. It just kind of heightened my need and my desire and my will to continue to dance.
Wow.
And it was kind of like, it kind of took off from there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you mentioned something about power, and I know we've talked about it in our own private conversations just as friends, but I studied ballet and studied dance growing up, and a lot of times being a Black person in a maybe predominantly white space, it doesn't always fit. Your body doesn't necessarily fit in that space. So could you talk about being a Black dancer in a predominantly white space, whether it's stage or whether it's a theater or whether it's a company or even just the idea of dance?
Oh, certainly. So, and I feel like dance itself perpetuates this whole notion, probably more than a lot of other fields, even in art. You as a writer might differ, or maybe in fashion, you might see that it's even more, because it's all so visual and so personal about your body and about what your body can do and what it looks like. And unfortunately, it seems that it's more often what it looks like than what it can do. So when you're talking about and people, you know, we talk about ballet all the time, but it's not just ballet. It's also contemporary dance as a shoot off from the culture of ballet. And a lot of times ballet was like this thing. And I remember arguing this point in a, what do you call it? In a Black class, like in college. It was Africana studies class.
Okay.
And I felt really stupid afterwards because I was missing the point, but I was like, well, yeah, so, you know, Graham, Martha, and all these others were branching off of ballet, but reacting against it. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, that's true. But at the end of the day, it's still based in white culture and white, you know, supremacy, really. So when you enter those spaces as a Black woman, it doesn't even matter if your body has all the stereotypical attributes. You still have to like prove yourself to be able to fit into those cultural norms. And that's a really long, it's a hard thing to do. It's virtually impossible. So you're continuously like proving yourself in that space. And yeah, can I answer that question?
Yeah, yes. There's probably so many layers, but yes.
I'm curious
how
you
you touched on a couple.
Because you were a really young person in the ballet. Like,
yeah.
Would you share a little bit about how you felt?
Yeah, I mean, I always felt that I belonged there. My most impressionable and most powerful experience observing and participating, well, as an audience member with dance, was watching the Creole Giselle that the Dancer of Harlem performed.
Oh, wow.
And I still remember moments. I was at Kennedy Center. And so I just always felt like I belonged on stage. As a ballerina. Unfortunately, that didn't always happen. I'm growing up in Pittsburgh and auditioning and being picked and not being picked for parts. And as you say, it had more to do with my brown skin and it had to do with my ballet body and what I could do. So I stopped dancing because I just didn't feel like I would be able to do it the way that I wanted to as a profession. So yeah.
I hear that. And I ended up gravitating towards wherever I felt the culture was more inclusive and embodied, like, because I loved it all. I wanted to do every part of it. So like Dancer of Harlem, and when I was in Atlanta, I did some work with Bal Ethnic, and it was just like, to me, back then, it was like, oh, we can, you know, be Black and do this style and that style all in one thing. And it's just like, woo.
Yeah.
You know? So in those spaces, I felt kind of like this utopic type, but it was very innocent and very naive. You know what I mean? Because even still in our spaces, we had to become something a little different than what we already were. You know, we had to still prove that we can get on our boxes. We had to, you know, all the stuff that had to do with the culture of white dance.
Yeah. So it's like what people say code switching when you're talking, but you're code switching with your body is dancing. So you're trying to show that you can speak multiple languages.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So I know a lot of people talk about 2020 as being this horrible year. But you have had some great joys in 2020 and a lot of things that are going to be 2020 to 2021. Can you talk about what happened this year for you and and what you're working on?
Yes, so we're working on a project called Circles, and it's interesting because it's like the most liberating work that I've ever created, and it's the most about me. Like most work that I do is autobiographical in some sense, in that I'm reflecting our community and our culture. But this particular piece is kind of like I'm going to talk about what has shaped me and just be me, and pretty much just be me, but be me through my dancers on stage. And it's circles because, these things are cyclical. Life is cyclical. And with this project, we've been working on it for about a year, and we got a National Dance Project Award for it. Very excited about that. It's, I believe, our first national funding that we've gotten for anything.
Mm.
We get plenty of support, especially from Pittsburgh foundations. But yeah, this was the first, and it's also opening up a whole world of touring for us. That we started touring a couple years ago, and we all love it. And
That's wonderful.
yeah, so now this will be a little more push and more support to do more of that touring.
That's so wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah. And next spring we'll see you here at
Yes.
the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater.
Yes, so the August was, yes, for sure. I think they're going to still do it in August at the August Wilson Center.
Okay.
Super excited about that too. And then we're going to have Circles world premiere at the August Wilson Center through a collaborative presentation from the Kelly Strayhorn and the August Wilson Center. So they're collaborating on this project with us.
That's really
It's
wonderful.
super exciting to have both like Black-led organizations support another Black-led organization.
That's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that is a question also that I have, just in terms of leadership, entrepreneurship, and going from dancer to choreographer to having your own company. What has been the process of deciding to be a creative entrepreneur, and how has being in Pittsburgh helped? How has being in Pittsburgh been challenging? And what advice would you give someone who's thinking about, I need to create my own agency and my own power as a Black, brown, or marginalized person who may be in a space that they cannot be fully them?
Right. It's a lot, Taryn.
I know.
Well, the first thing I can say about someone who wants to move on their own is to, follow your dreams. I know that sounds corny, as I don't know what, but you have to know that you have to know beyond what the world tells you about who you are and what your capabilities are. And so you have to think, it's kind of esoteric, but you have to always be outside of what this world is, and challenge yourself to always push even further. Like, you think your dreams are right here, but actually they're right here. And know that everything is work. Everything is a lot of work. So, you can't turn down your dreams because you feel like it's just too much work. You kind of have to keep going with it. You really do just have to keep pushing forward. And if this door feels like it's too hard to open, then try this one over here. Oh, that one, okay, try this one. If anyone, I'm not even hearing that. Shut up. I'm not trying to hear you right now.
Right.
And you just have to know, it helps you learn yourself and to know yourself. And that helps you not hear all that stuff over there. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I feel like if you want more, hey, Randall.
Hey, time flies. So real quick, not to cut you off, but so I can get out of your way. Everyone that's watching at home, after Stacey's going to answer one more question from Taranay, and then we're going to open it up to your questions. So start dropping those in the comments on either Facebook or YouTube. All right, let me get out of the way, and you two get back to talking.
Thank you for the time check as well, because I would just keep asking questions.
Yeah, so it's just about having faith in yourself and having faith in your community. And, also I feel like one of the secrets is that once you share and you open your resources to others, then that energy comes back to you. So, we make it our mission to, being an artist, it's not easy no matter what. I can't imagine how much easier it might be if I weren't a Black woman, but here we are.
Here we are.
It's not the easy path. So why not make it a little bit easier by building your own community? And that's support. That means supporting a support system that goes like cyclical, like it goes around and around and around, and you don't have to worry about how if you're putting too much out there, because it always comes back. You just know that. So it's been an interesting journey.
That's wonderful. Well, I just think you're such an amazing choreographer, and fell in love with your work before I fell in love with you as a wonderful friend. So I love you so much, and I'm just so happy to see the nation and the world see that we have one of the best choreographers around right here in Pittsburgh. So we're lucky to have you, and just keep creating and performing and making all the beautiful things that you make. So thank you. And thanks for talking to me.
You're the best.
You really are. I'm amazed. I saw a little bit of Circles, little preview of it, and it was just so, without knowing, like I didn't read the liner notes, and I just kind of felt like I was watching an experience. I was watching an autobiography of a Black woman.
Oh, wow.
As I was watching it. So hearing you say that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's how I felt watching it. And the thing, I think about as when you are really specific, it becomes more universal. And I just am really excited to see people response and reactions to this piece, because it does feel very, very vulnerable and pure. And it's just, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that means everything to me. And thanks for being here with me today, too.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and steal the first question. Staycee, can you talk a little bit about your work with Pittsburgh Ballet Theater in that commission for the 50th anniversary?
Yeah, sure.
Like the process and, whatever else you want to talk about.
Definitely. So I don't even, it was so one thing I learned about myself is that I'm probably not, I work better I guess anyone would, when I have a lot of time to work on my dancers who've been dancing with me for 100 years. So it was really interesting to have this, I had more time than all the other choreographers, but it was still limited in my world, the way I typically work. And I also think that the dancers, some of them may have known a little bit about my work and how my process goes, but I think a lot of them did not, and they're used to just jumping in and working with someone who's going to give them that vocabulary that's what they're used to in a lot of ways. And I try not to steer too far away from their comfort, but also push them a little bit to be a bit more, I guess you could say, using the upper body in different ways that they're probably used to, from what I could see from the work I've seen on them. So it was interesting, though. It was, for most of them, they're so young and they're ready to eat up whatever, and then some were probably a little bit more tentative about getting into this whole thing and if they were going to look stupid doing it. And the thing is, they didn't have to say any of that. I can feel it, trust me, I can feel all of it. I'm hypersensitive anyway, but they're doing this other thing in some ways. In my brain, it's all dance. Like ballet, contemporary, whatever you're going to do. It's all expression with the body. So it was always important for me to know and be confident in all the styles that fed my expression. I don't know if that makes sense, but so, I have a lot of ballet background, but I also have a lot of West African background. And then there's a lot of stuff in between there that pulls from all over the place. So Ron Brown was a big influence on me as well. And he did a modern African style that used a lot of Hortonish, modern Lester Horton and West African dance. So what else can I tell you about that experience? I got to work with Janet Campbell to create the costumes, and that was a lovely experience. And we also got to work, and I brought my dancers in because they embody our style so beautifully. And so I haven't been on stage in years and years and years. So to have them there to demonstrate was the best thing ever. So we choreograph on them, on my dancers, and then we bring that choreography into the dancers at the ballet. And we tried to do some like development there in the studio, but it was because of that limited time that I was talking about, like getting to sit down and journal and build phrases and gestures off of the dancers, with the ballet. We're not ready for that yet. And it's not like, when I say we're not ready for that, it's just a matter of experience doing that particular task. It's not, I'm not speaking to their lack of anything. Like, it's just, and then also that was in keeping with being in their space. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in their space. I need to like kind of shift myself into how they do things to some degree. I mean, meet them at least halfway. So that was like what I was trying to do. I don't know if I was successful. You ask any of them.
I'm glad to hear we're gonna hopefully see it in August. So that's good news.
August. Okay.
Isn't that what you said? Didn't you say August? Yeah.
I think it's April. Well, and I doubt it's April now. A few months ago it was April.
Okay. So hopefully April then. I thought you said August earlier, so I apologize for that. And so the next question is, how are you navigating COVID-19 and the shutdowns of in-person performances? I know this is a big question.
I gotta go bye. Thanks.
do an interpretive dance inspired by COVID-19.
Out of here.
Now. Yeah.
Randall, it's as you know, it's been tough. This week was like the first week that we were in the studio together. It's only a couple of us. That makes 5 or 6 of us total. We stayed masked up. I stayed in, like, I'm kind of in my lounge area. They stayed on the dance floor. We opened the doors. I have all kinds of sanitizers and, spray. This is my favorite spray. I can't find it anywhere. Yeah.
So,
if anyone knows where I can find it, please let me know, because I can't find it anywhere. So that was this week. But someone was exposed. So we're not going to do it next week because we were exposed somehow. But before that, we did a lot of virtual, and I early on we kind of paused, like in March, and we were all kind of sad, and it was like right when the ballet was going up, and we had been traveling a lot. We had just been to Italy and New York, and so we kind of sat back for a second, and then I realized I needed to keep everyone on, and we managed to do that up until now. There was no furlough, and we're small, and so it was a little easier than for other people, I'm sure. So it's just kind of like we just figure it out as each day goes on. We did Hotline Ring with the Kelly Strayhorn, and Joseph Hall being here has been helpful to us because he just keeps going, and it's like inspiring, and then there's collaboration, which happens really easily with them, and that was great. And then we had August Wilson Center Juneteenth celebration. So we had all these virtual things happening that kind of kept us going, and we made a couple of Dance for Camera works, and we're working on another couple more. So, and then Circles will also have a Dance for Camera version. So that's it. We just keep doing what we do. And now a lot of it's virtual. We're offering classes. And we're going to keep doing that until we can get back on someone's stage.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it's a big question for us all right now on how do we move forward from this, at least in the interim before we're at a place where we can get back to, some semblance of how things used to be. Yeah. So,
What do you-
go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, what do you think that semblance is going to be? Like, have you all decided at the trust? Like,
We're talking about it. I can't get into too many details right now, but we're putting all our brains together to figure out where we go from here. Absolutely. That's all the time we have for this episode. I know we want to put up information. What's the best website for each of you to if people want to find out more about your work? Stacey, I know they dropped it in the Facebook chat, but
down here,
yeah.
Pearlstudios.com.
Pearlstudios.com, there it is. And Taranay, you had a website too, right?
Yeah, it's adiadega.com.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So glad we were able to have this conversation despite the pandemic. It's one of the few that were scheduled for the Live Humanities Festival back in March, and happy that we could make it happen. And thank you both so much for participating. It's a fantastic conversation. Just a reminder to everyone, this talk and our other talks will be up on trustarts.org/humanities. Let's see, what else do I have to say before I go? I have to ask one more time to please consider making a financial contribution to support the mission and future programming at trustarts.org/support sponsor humanities and support humanities rather. And that's all for this week. Again, check out trustarts.org/humanities, and hope you'll join us next week and throughout the month of October for more smart talk about stuff that matters. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.